yoga for bedtime. So this is going to be nice and slow, nice and, just trying to wind down with a few stretches. And I'm sat up on my bolster. So a bolster could be handy, or a pillow, or a block, or anything like that. So grab any of your bits and bobs that you think you might need, and we will get started. So if you can just find a bit of an easy pose, so either sitting up on a block, on a bolster, and just sort of arriving onto your mat here. So legs can be crossed or uncrossed, however you feel comfortable. And let's turn our palms so that open up to the sky, so we can let the shoulders round down the back. And begin to close the eyes if that feels okay for you. And as this is yoga for bedtime, it's totally fine if you're in PJs, or even if you're actually laying on your bed. So just relax, and finding the sounds of your breath. Whether you've had a really busy day, or you just want a good bit of movement before you rest. Inhaling, inflating into the rib cage, into the belly, and exhaling just with that Ujjayi breath. Lengthening those breaths now. Relaxing the shoulders, the jaw, the jawline. Just checking there's no tension in the hips. A full breath in, and full breath out. On your next inhale, bring ear to shoulder and pause. Full breath in and full breath out. Bringing that head up and ear to opposite shoulder. And again, full breath in. Full breath out. Interlinking your wrists in, your fingers in together, and just looking to sort of move and flow your wrists. So stretching the forearms, maybe taking them into a little bit of a wave, or pausing them, pushing the fingers away from you, stretching. So feel like your wrists need a little bit of attention there, as we just stretch and move, taking the fingers and just drawing one wrist back. If you've been sat at a desk all day today, this is going to feel really good. Changing sides and pushing the wrist away from you. Just trying to relax the whole body, so letting any tension disappear. Coming over, and we're going to find a quadruped, 4-point base. So removing your block, your bolster, and into that quadruped position as we round and just move and stretch our back. So any which way that you feel you want to. So maybe you've been driving today and your low back feels stiff, so arching up into that low back. Maybe you've been sat around a computer, so we're going to stretch up into that upper back. And just looking up and forwards, working with your breath, just mobilizing that spine, moving the tailbone one way and the other way. So real nice, gentle movements, gentle stretches. Bringing that movement into breath, nice and slowly, really slowing the breathing down. Remember, we're winding down. Tuck the toes for me now. Tuck the toes and let the tailbone come back slightly, and just pushing the weight into the heels, and then letting the hands come down further to the mat. Maybe the forehead comes down, stretching, opening up through the side body here. Just feeling tops of feet stretching. If it feels too uncomfy, just untuck the toes. So you're on tops of feet and breathing here. Creep those fingers further away. Inflating into the upper ribs, into the upper back, spreading those fingers onto the mat. Let's walk ourselves up. Just moving the hands in onto the elbows and slowly rounding yourself up. Keeping your toes tucked or untucking if it feels comfortable, and one hand on the thigh, and bringing your weight back and sitting into that broken toe pose. Just stretching the tops of the feet, getting into the Achilles a little bit, so backs of ankles. And then reach up, so stretch up all the way up high, and turn those fingers, interlinking them, stretching and letting your tailbone sink down to the mat, so it points down and forwards as we look up. Take the hands down one at a time. We're going to find the top of the bottom and the low back as we bring the heels of the hands in, keeping the tailbone tucked and just opening up, pulling those elbows back, getting that nice stretch, trying not to flip top the neck back, but we're opening through the front body here. And we're just about feeling some mild sensations this evening, not pushing. Remember, we're winding our body down as we just bring some gentle movement, gentle stretching. Releasing and rounding your body down and forwards now. Taking the hands around to the outside of the thighs, crossing them over, untucking the toes, and pulling in the hands into the thighs and pushing the thighs into the hands, the navel up to the spine. As you pull those shoulder blades apart, and it feels so good. Changing sides, so it might feel a little bit awkward the other side. So pull and push. Tailbone can come down. You can sit into that hero pose, you feel any discomfort into your back or if you feel it too challenging. Place the hands, we step one leg forwards and find a low lunge. So we're going to keep the toes tucked under if that feels okay. Just bringing the fingers to the floor or to the block, making sure that the ankle is under the knee, and just finding that stillness. You can even use your bolster here. So we're sort of in a cross between a low lunge and lizard. Yeah, so you can use your bolster for your elbows if you wish, but the toes are facing the front, so we're not turning out onto the toes. Trying not to round the back, so getting into the hips. And just breathing, really working on this breath. If you don't have anything to lean into, just use your hands, pull your sternum forwards, and breathe into the hips. Find that little bit of a sway from side to side, really opening. And as your hips open a little bit more, maybe you can send the knee back slightly. Finding that good stretch. And walking up that front thigh. So using hands, walking up. And pushing very slightly on that front thigh so we can squeeze that glute under and stretch into that hip. Padding out that underneath knee with a rolled up blanket or folded blanket or anything you need to put under there. Just into this hip opener. Just holding it. We're going to go one full breath in, one full breath out. Releasing the hands down to mat and taking that leg around so we can change the other side. We come forwards, we'll step that other leg forwards with that generous lunge. We'll place the ankle underneath the knee and we'll bring the hands down inside that front foot. Just making sure that the heel is sinking down onto the mat and you're not rolling out. So we're not looking for the external stretch. You can use your bolster, your block, and pushing through the base of the back toes and sending that leg away. Just pulling with the heels of hands so your sternum reaches forwards. So you get that nice hip opener. Really reaching up and forwards. Up and forwards. And stretch. Breathing. We have one full breath in, one full breath out. Placing the hands now onto the thigh, walking up into that low lunge, and maybe that back knee comes back a little bit more. So we sink into those hips. So feeling what is comfortable for you. Opening the chest. Just stretching into that thigh, into the hip flexor. Really releasing through the body there. Just opening up that front line. So good. So good. Release the hands, come down to mat. And then stepping in, we're going to lay on our back. So however you get there is absolutely fine. So stepping in and rolling yourself. Use your hands, roll yourself down. Taking both legs over to one side. So we'll take both legs over to maybe the left and then reach both arms up overhead. and banana the body. So holding on to the wrist and just opening up through that side. And then we're going to cross the leg over the other so we can really push and open up that side even more. So I've got right leg on top, and I'm pulling just very gently onto my right wrist to stretch and open up my side, trying to keep my pelvis so it's glued and my rib cage glued. In that really nice banana stretch. Just letting that lateral bend come into the spine. And breathing again. So see if you can find that inhale now and really inflate into the side body. Feel it stretch even more. Maybe you feel the glute, maybe you feel the internal obliques all around the rib cage. And maybe you feel, maybe you feel it in your back, underneath your armpit, down the side of your leg. So just enjoy that stretch as it eases. One more full breath in. And exhale. Shuffling back to center. Finding that center position so we can repeat onto the other side. We take the legs over the other side now. Over the other side. Crossing that leg over, so now you know what's coming. Crossing the leg. Shifting the upper body over and then just holding onto that wrist. Opening the side body. And we're aiming to really release into this side body, so it may feel very stiff when you first start. It may feel tight. And as we take those inhales, we're going to send that inhale into the side body and really stretch it. Use that breath. Use that breath. Think of where the breath is going. Think about the diaphragm and the rib cage that expands, and you feel how that stretch really benefits you through that breath. The breath is always our friend in yoga. Inhale. Exhale. Maybe you can shuffle a little bit more. Just trying not to create discomfort by stretching too far, making it active, but keeping everything locked in and loose. One more full round of breath as you inhale and exhale. Now the foot that is on top is going to slide up that thigh, so we can maneuver our body now into reclined pigeon. Holding on to, pushing the knee away or reaching under the back of the thigh or even the shin. Just flexing that foot, making sure there's no pressure in the knee as we work on really getting into the deep glute here. Holding this for some time. We want the muscles to release and give in. So just teasing those shoulders down to the mat. Exhaling. And you try and release. Inhale as though you're drawing that inhale in deep into the glute. You almost feel everything expand. And you exhale to let go. We're taking this stretch beyond where we feel that we no longer need to hold it, where we can just release when that release starts to happen. A good 8 to 10 breaths. Let's put the foot to the floor, but roll over to the side. So the foot that's on the top, I'm going to start to roll and twist that body over to the side. Now, depending on how this feels, you may be able to lift up and shift the hip as you roll. So the foot is still tucked behind the knee, and then sliding the other hand away from you. We're going to also slide the hand down and hold on to the back of the knee, and see if we can look over towards that backhand. And let this knee sink to the floor. See if you can almost untuck the knee now, so the inside knee is also on the floor. Releasing, holding and releasing. Just breathe and be. No pain, just mild sensations here. Either stay with this and have a little play on the position with the knee. It might come up a little bit higher. We take the twisted arm, the one that's out to the side, and see if we can hold onto the other foot. So reaching around and really twisting into that almost like pretzel position. So opening up here into this twist. Try and push the hips a little bit further forwards. You'll know the position that you need to come into. Feel the nice shoulder opener as well. See if you can take the hand around onto the side of the foot. So the thumb is touching the big toe, the underneath of the big toe. And breathing into this twist. See if you can let go here. Just let go. And releasing both limbs nice and slowly. Roll yourself over. Bringing the other ankle onto the knee. Uncurling that body. Maybe you push the knee out. Maybe you come to back of thigh or even shin. Just flexing that foot. Reaching through. Finding that deep stretch. And this is where we're looking to let go and release. Working with your breath. A huge eye breath. Just closing your eyes. Being completely present in your body. That mind will want to drift, but we're going to bring it back. Every time, bring it back. Until that hip really releases. Finding that still position where it's just you and your breath. Nothing more, nothing less. And a good 8 to 10 breaths here. You can feel how the muscles respond when you are letting go. You can feel the difference. taking the leg and rolling over to the side. So we may pick up the hips the same as we did the other side, and rolling the legs over, opening up into T-shape through the arms, rolling and tucking that foot, looking over to the backhand, and then creeping that hand down the thigh to encourage that leg to come up a little bit higher. Just adding that weight of the hand onto the thigh, into that really nice twist. Breathing into the tightness, any sensations that you feel. Maybe you move that knee out the way. And then if possible, we come down and reach the foot. Just pulling that leg back a little bit further. And shuffling ourselves. The hand can come round onto the side of the foot, holding onto the thumb. And we release. We release that top knee. Release into glutes. Breathe into that twist. Let everything unravel. Feel the body let go. And breathe. All about that breath. Coming round and unraveling. Nice and slowly, unpeeling. Hugging one knee in and your second knee in. Releasing any tension from your spine. Bringing the head down to the mat. Having a roll from side to side, real nice and gentle. Stretching out after your day. Bringing soles of feet to floor and knees open to the side. Reaching our hands overhead now, reaching away and trying to shuffle the rib cage up, stretching those hands out, trying to bring palms and wrists to the mat overhead, opting for that Y shape if you need it. Just finding that comfortable position. And again, letting gravity do its thing. Feel the front body as it's still. Breathe and relax. One more full breath in. One more full breath out. Inhaling, bringing those knees up, stepping wide through the feet now, wide through the feet. The knees are knocking together as you send the knees in and down to the mat. Just pushing them in together, keeping the feet flexed into that internal rotation. Just feeling that stretch through the top of the hips, using a block if you need it, underneath the knees, using a bolster. Try and let that upper body relax and let the hips go. No pressure in the knees. Just letting gravity bring those knees down. No pain, just mild sensations. Always mild sensations. A softness in the jaw. And I promise you, if you actually turn your lips into a little smile, it'll make you feel much better about just being. Just that little upturn of the lips. One more full breath in, one more full breath out. And then slowly beginning to shuffle one foot in, the second foot in. Bringing your feet up together. And that counter stretch as we take knees into chest. Curling up now. Curling up. Roll yourself all the way up to the seated position. And sitting up on your block or your bolster if you need it. So just stretch through the backs of the legs. So like I say, if it's feeling uncomfortable and a little bit tight, just hoik yourself up a bit higher onto a block. Making sure both your sitting bones are rooted down. And then reaching, growing up, tall through that invisible string. We inhale to reach your arms up overhead. See if you can lengthen, really stretch that spine up. And then begin to push your feet away. So push your heels away, pull your toes towards your nose. Don't worry if your knees are struggling to come straight. Making sure that you're not hyperextending through your knees. We take the hands to the back of our head, elbows wide. And we exhale as we twist, just looking over the shoulder, really pulling that elbow back. Inhale as we come to center. And exhale, twisting the other way. Inhale as we come to center, keeping really long through our spine and lifting up as we go into fold, into seated fold. So try not to round your back. We lift up to come over. The block can really help. So taking the fingers down to the floor or just whatever is good for you. When you're comfortable in this long spine, then you can add the fold. Just making sure there's no pressure onto that low back. So we are lifting up, sinking that weight down, and just holding wherever is comfortable for you. You can either use your bolster to lay on or a block. And then let the head hang, feeling that big stretch into the spine, into the back of the legs, opening through shoulders. Walk the hands, just tuck around the sides of the feet. Only if it feels okay. We're not pulling, we're releasing. Our focus is release and let go. With every inhale, we'll lengthen the spine. With every exhale, we release. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, release. One more full breath in. One more full breath out. Walk the hands very slowly up, lifting off the block, the bolster, and rolling back onto your back, bringing your legs up for happy baby. So reaching into sides of feet, tailbone pushing down towards the mat, holding on wherever feels good for you to hold, even backs of thighs if feet aren't accessible. And then opening into the inner hips, flats of feet as though they're on the ceiling. And inhaling, exhaling. Letting the tailbone be heavy down onto the mat. Changing where your grip is, if you need to. Just teasing those knees open, really working onto the inner hips, into the groin. One more full inhale. And one more full exhale. Slowly draw those feet into your sitting bones and open the knees, holding on to the toes. So thinking of Reclined Butterfly or Reclined Balasana. So imagine you're sitting with your sitting bones on the floor. Your heels are on the floor and your knees are coming wide. So good to do it in this position because it stops you rounding the back. Just drawing those heels in, pushing those knees out. Just using your mobility here. And just 2 more rounds of breath. 2 more inhales. Before we slowly releasing those hands, bringing feet very slowly to the floor and stretching one leg away, stretching the other leg away, and opening up now the front line of your body again. Really stretch. Taking the arms, releasing the legs, finding eagle arms. So if you need to, bend the knees. We cross one elbow over inside the other elbow crease and continue to wrap those arms around as we find the palms and just easing those fingers up overhead, starting to stretch into the upper back. If you need to, shuffle yourself a little bit one side then the other side. If you find it beneficial for you, bend those legs. No pressure into the back here. Stretching, pulling the fingers away and fighting against gravity. One more round of breath. We don't want this to be too strong. Before we unpeel, cross to the other side. Wrap those hands around into those eagle arms, reaching up, holding where you can work to pull those fingers up and away from you as your elbows come up. 4 or 5 breaths here. One more round. Releasing those arms. Bring some life into your fingers. Rolling yourself over. And finding child's pose. So tucking your toes, walking yourself away. Creeping and stretching. And either staying in your child's pose or taking yourself over onto your back. Or Shavasana. Or both. Stay here for a little bit and then move over onto your back. Working with breath. Letting go of your day. Knowing that sleep is coming soon. And it will be wonderful, wonderful sleep. Wonderful, relaxed sleep. You'll be able to imagine when you get into bed. Just the feeling of your body letting go. The softness around you as it envelopes your skin. I know that you find time to have your eyes closed, but be aware of your surroundings before you drift off to sleep. You'll be aware that your breath gets heavier and longer. I'd like you to have the option to stay exactly where you are, continuing this for longer. And if you'd like to do that, just carry on with that now. Otherwise, we'll find sensations to move. Just slowly move the limbs, whether you're in child's pose or in your corpse pose. We move slowly. We curl. We keep our jaw soft. We begin to awaken our limbs through our fingers, through our toes. And only if you wish and want to, you maneuver yourself round to your right hand side. Finding your easy pose. And seeing if you can keep your eyes closed. Taking one more breath here. Bring your hands to your heart. And namaste. Thank you very much for sharing that with me. And I hope you have a really lovely night's sleep. Thank you. And I will see you soon. Sleep tight, little yogis.